Hello people, welcome to the People Building video podcast. So I have to share something with you today all about memory skills, and I have to do it quickly because I'm well aware that on YouTube you only get a 10-minute video. So I'm going to have to teach you a really quick memory skill. The reason why I'm teaching you this is because it will significantly improve your ability to remember lists of stuff, whatever that list of stuff may be. Now, what we have up here is a nice clean sheet of paper, and I am currently in the kitchen. So we're going to write down a list of, let's say, about 15 different things, and then I'm going to teach you the technique to help you remember those 15 things, both forwards and backwards, in less than 10 minutes. So I'm going to take inspiration from the room around me because that makes sense to do that. So number one is going to be fridge. Number 7 is microwave. Number 8 is tea towel. Number 9 is going to be radio. Can't spell now. Radio. Number 10 could be camera. There we go. 11 would be sink. Number 12. So number 12 we've got window. Let's have, I'm not sure if you can still see this, but number 13 is picture. Number 14 could be a basket. And number 15 will be door. Okay, so fairly random list of 15 different things there. So if I just stand in front of this now, see how many of them you can remember. No, probably not very many. So now I'm going to teach you the technique to help you actually remember them. It's very simple. All you have to do is make up a crazy story about these things in this order. Very simple, but the key thing is not to just go from one to the next to the next to the next. The key thing is to always link thing 1 to thing 2, and then thing 2 again to thing 3. Thing 3 again to thing 4, thing 4 again to thing 5, and so on. That's the key to doing this. So here's our weird story, and then you can test yourself to see how well you remember this, both forwards and backwards. The key thing is that as I tell you this story, which I'm going to make up off the top of my head, is that you really visualise it in your mind as I'm telling you it. That will help it to fix in your mind so that you remember it. And also that when you're doing this yourselves in the future, that you make sure that the story is as weird and wacky as possible. Because the more unique it is, the more it will stick in your mind. So here's our story. So once upon a time, there was a fridge. This was no ordinary fridge. This was a pink fridge that had a smiley face embossed in the fridge. And one day that smiley face on the fridge came to life, and it started eating the washing. The mouth on the fridge, on the pink fridge, opened up, and it reached over toward the radiator, where it gradually started pulling in bits of washing. So on that, some of that washing, there was a yellow t-shirt with a picture of a donkey on it, and the picture of the donkey on the yellow t-shirt came to life, and that donkey said, "Excuse me, have you seen my hat?" And with that, the fridge began to cough and splutter, and it threw up a hat. This hat was an orange hat with a purple flower growing on the side, and that purple flower fell off the hat onto the ground and became a plant in its own right. So then we have plant to coca. How do we get from plant to coca? That plant actually started to grow pods on it, and these were cocoa pods, so that you could use it to make hot cups of cocoa. And the hot cups of cocoa, I took the pods, and I took the cocoa out of the pods, and I put it in the microwave to make my own hot cups of cocoa. So then microwave to tea towel. Unfortunately, the microwave caught fire because I left the cocoa in there for too long, so I had to use a tea towel to put the fire out. Now, that tea towel I then rested on the side, and unfortunately it hadn't quite gone out, and it caught fire to the radio. So the radio exploded, and at this point, what happened then was, as the radio exploded, a helicopter came down just beside the window and took a picture of the explosions. There was a big camera on the side of this helicopter. And so then we've got camera, so from camera to sink. Unfortunately, the camera fell off of the helicopter, smashed through the window, and it landed in the sink, which was filled up with bubbling hot water. So from sink to window, we then have bits of window all in the sink. I go to fish out the camera from the sink, but because there's bits of window in there, I cut my fingers because there's lots of glass everywhere. And then from window to picture, what happens then is that the bits of glass have cut me and there's blood all over the place. I then flick my hand like this and I flick blood all over my nice Disney picture, which is on the wall up here. So Mickey Mouse gets blood all over his face. Not very nice at all, in fact it's a big grin. So then from picture to basket, we have some of the blood drips down off of Mickey Mouse's face and it lands in the basket on the floor. And from basket to door, and the basket starts to go rotten and a bit smelly, and it starts to crumble and decay, and eventually it crumbles and decays so much that it slides out underneath the door, like it just sort of decays away and drifts and melts out underneath the kitchen door. So there we go, there's our weird story. So just to recap, we have a pink fridge who has a face on it, and it starts to eat the washing. Bear with me, I know this is weird. So the fridge eats the washing, and amongst the washing there is a yellow t-shirt with a picture of a donkey, and the donkey's face comes to life and says, "Have you seen my hat?" The fridge coughs and splutters, spits out an orange hat with a purple flower on it. That flower turns into a plant, and that plant grows on the floor and begins to grow its own cocoa pods on the actual plant. So I take the cocoa and I put it in the microwave to have nice hot cups of cocoa, but unfortunately the microwave catches fire. I put the fire out with a tea towel, and then I move the tea towel off to one side, but it's still on fire and accidentally sets light to the radio. So the radio does this huge big explosion, and a helicopter which is hovering just outside the window comes down and takes a picture just as the radio is exploding. Unfortunately, this has a detrimental effect on that camera, and the camera falls off of the helicopter through the window and it lands in the sink. So we've got the hot bubbling sink there, and as I go to put my hand into the sink to pull out the camera, I get cut by a shard of glass, which is of course from the window. So that window has cut my hand and there's blood everywhere, and I flick my hand like this, and as I do, it sprays blood all over a picture on the wall, which is a picture of Mickey Mouse, you'll remember. So Mickey's got blood running all down him, so all down the picture, and from there, that blood drips into a basket on the floor. But because I have special alien blood, that causes the basket on the floor to start to fizzle and sizzle and melt away until it just runs away across the floor and slips underneath the kitchen door, and there we have door at the end. Now, see how many of them you can remember. It starts with fridge. Go through the list in your mind or out loud. And I bet that you've remembered probably all 15, I would say. Now, once you've done that, you can pause the video if you need to, of course. Start now with door and see if you can work backwards. So start with door. What was before door? What happened just before the door? And remember the story. Keep thinking about the story, and that will tell you each of the things that was on the list. Now, if you want to, write them down as you remember them, and then pause the video now, because when you come back, I'm going to put the list back up, and you can see how many of them you got correct. Here's our list again. Da -la 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 -la. And there's door at the end. And that is how to use memory skills. Now, special offer today is exactly about memory skills, so do click on the link to find out more about how you can learn some even better techniques to help you improve your memory, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks' time.